The views and topics expressed by tonight's guest do not necessarily reflect the beliefs and or opinions of Paranormal Road or our sponsors. We present tonight's topic for your consideration and review. Ultimately, each of us must decide for ourselves what we hold to be true. Exploring unknown regions of our reality.
And she looks out and sees these lights in the sky and these different patterns drifting like they were going to land.
Examining the depths of human perception.
I remember when I was awake and I realized I was awake, I started to sort of scan the room and I realized that something was wrong.
Pursuing the elusive and unseen.
Electronics started acting up, ceased to work, overheated.
You have just entered a road of wondrous mystery.
And so when we get around this bend in the road and this group of trees, we look up in the sky and there's this craft, and it is huge.
A place where sometimes our darkest terrors dwell.
I've never seen anything like this, and instantly I could feel the fear.
You've just turned on to the Paranormal Road. Paranormal Road.
You've just turned on the Paranormal Road. I'm Dave Hensley, your host.
And I'm Randy Kessler, your co-host.
And tonight, you are just going to be blown away because we have this incredible couple from the UK. And I wish I could do the accent, but, you know, I just can't.
Don't try, Dave.
No. But anyway, we have Laney and Ben here with us by Zoom. And this interview, I think you're just going to be blown away. They are one of the most charming couples. Their chemistry is just amazing, and I think you're gonna see that and hear that on tonight's show. They really gel. And here's the thing: is they are experiencing one hell of a haunting, poltergeist, a ghost. I don't know. It's named Dave, and we're going to find out tonight how they came upon that name and why they call him Dave. No, it's not me. Although
you're a bit demonic.
Oh, shut up. So anyway, Laney and Ben, welcome to the Paranormal Road.
Thank you for having us. Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
We're
Ben?
good, thank you. How are you?
I'll tell you, again, just watching your videos is amazing. But so our audience, before we get into that haunting, if you could share with the audience how long you've known each other, when you met, how you moved in, or when you moved into this residence that's haunted, and kind of give us the pre-story to what led up to your YouTube channel.
So Ben and I met at the very beginning of 2018, and we moved into our new home in the summer of 2018. Don't judge us if you think that was a bit rushed.
Hey, no judgment here.
So we kind of met through work. We both teach. Ben had come in to deliver some PE lessons in my school, and that was it. We met. We kind of really got to know each other, and that was it. I've not been able to get rid of him since.
I've got that effect on people, I think. I just kind of linger.
He's a stage 10 Klingon, you know.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were going to, move into our own home together. Searched through many kind of online forums, and finally found this house and came and had a look and had such a beautiful feeling about it. It was really like a very light and airy house, and the bedrooms were nice and spacious, and it just felt like it was meant to be for us. And we were accepted on the house straight away, the same day that we viewed it. And before we knew it, we were moving in within about 3 weeks of finding it. So it was almost, it felt very meant to be.
Yeah, and it was quite exciting.
Yeah, like it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was quite exciting for me as well, because for me, it was the first time moving out. So I lived with my parents before, and this is my first house that I've lived away from my family and stuff like that. It was quite an exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we were, we just, at the time, it was just a lovely feeling because the house felt great. It was now ours. We were kind of, our relationship was taking the next step. And, you know, it was just a really exciting time. So we moved in and everything was nice and quiet for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And then
it all began.
Okay, so did it begin subtly, or was it one of those bam, smack you in the face moments?
So I think it started off quite subtle, in my opinion. So we experienced things not together, but alone. So for me, I would hear kind of footsteps kind of around the house, even though I know I was the only one in the house. Especially coming up and down the stairs, which was quite weird. And then I'd see things out the corner of my eye. But like I said, first time moving out, living in my own place, I kind of put it all down to just house noises. Like it's just the noise the house makes. That's what the house does. I'm not seeing things out the corner of my eye.
New in a home, you would automatically think that, oh well,
exactly,
maybe common for this house, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's fair to say that I was a massive skeptic before moving into this house. I did not believe in the paranormal. I was that person online who wouldn't give grief in the comments, but I would be like, I think this is done by this. This is how this had happened and stuff like that. Like the paranormal didn't exist to me.
You're probably like it was years ago. It was bullshit.
Exactly that. Yeah.
That was Ben.
Yeah.
And so and for me, as Ben said, we were experiencing things separately. I would have sometimes like school holidays in the UK. You have every 6 weeks you have a week of holiday. The children have a break, and so I would be home on my own quite a lot. I too would hear things. I would hear door handles squeaking. We've got kind of metal door handles that are quite squeaky on a couple of our doors. And then there was one occasion that I just couldn't deny, really, where I knew I was in the house on my own. And to kind of put our house into context, we have 3 floors on our house. We've got the ground floor, then the first, and then the second floor. So the second floor is the top floor. It's effectively an attic room, and that's our bedroom. And then the middle floor has a bathroom in it. It's the only floor that has a bath. And I was just having a bath in the middle floor, minding my own business, relaxing away. Mm-hmm. And then I heard the sound of, well, it was undeniable, a very gruff voice, a male voice, call my name as clear as day. And as you can imagine, when you're in the bath, quite a vulnerable position, especially when you're in the house and you know that you're on your own. So I couldn't, it was worrying. The house was quite new. I thought somebody may have got in. How could somebody be upstairs without me knowing? Sat there, called back and didn't really get a response. So jumped out the bath and checked. The front door was still locked. There was nobody upstairs in our bedroom. And I just could not explain what that was and how it could have happened, but didn't tell Ben because it was so ridiculous. We were fairly new in our relationship. It would have seemed crazy to be like, by the way, I'm seeing and hearing things, and it's I can't explain it.
And I was the exact same. Like, I didn't want to go to Laney and be like, I'm seeing things and I'm hearing things, because she would just be like, all right, well, see you later. You're a bit odd. But there was one experience that kind of triggered us to start talking about things.
Yeah, it really opened up our conversation, didn't it?
So we were sat watching telly one night, and underneath our TV, there's like a cabinet with a plant on the top, and it was just like had some little ornaments and stuff like that. And this plant pot moves on its own across the cabinet. And we are just completely like gobsmacked by what we've seen. Like, jaws have dropped. we've looked at each other and we're looking at the plant. We're looking at each other, looking at the plant. Like, we can't believe what we've just seen.
There was a moment of silence where we kind of just stared wide-eyed at each other. It was almost like, did you see that too? Has that just happened? Because those things don't happen.
Right.
You know, it's not. Whoever expects something like that to happen?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
then it was like, well, actually, this happened the other day, and then would say, well, I thought I'd seen shadows, a shadow person, or like a figure of a shadow, and then it really opened up the conversation to us. And then we thought, okay, well, maybe something's going on here. But we swore each other to secrecy, not to tell anybody, because we have professional jobs and we didn't want to lose credibility. And it just seems such an out there subject that we just we wanted to keep it to ourselves.
And I work with quite a young group of people. And I reckon if I went to them, I would have been torn apart for what I had told them. They would have just been like, "Yeah,
you wouldn't live it down."
Nah, no chance.
Yeah.
Right.
And then their parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, when we listen to these kind of stories, you know, we're old timers actually at this, I guess you'd say, and we've done so many investigations ourselves. We hear that so much when we will go to someone's house and they almost act embarrassed to let us in and do the investigation, but they so want to find out what's going on and they want to pay attention and listen and learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they completely change their mind about what they felt.
Yeah, and I think to a degree that was kind of where we were at. So we didn't say anything to anybody or even share anything with anybody. We've had a real turn of thought process, haven't we? Because we didn't tell anybody for over 2.5, well, about 2.5 years now, isn't it?
On that note, I mean, I would assume that like your parents have come to visit or relatives have come over. Weren't you a little bit nervous in that 2-year time period?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a funny story actually about a friend of mine who came over. So basically, Laney's from the north of England and I'm from the south, and we live in the south of England. So we usually go up north to visit Laney's family and all the rest of it.
It's about a 6-hour drive, so there's no just visiting for the day.
Yeah.
So we go up there, we stay, we make a kind of mini break of it.
So we went up for the week, and my friend who was 18 at the time, he was like, I said to him, "Do you want to look after the house for the week?" And he jumped to the opportunity because 18-year-old in a free house, like he was going to live it up for the week.
And you gave him no warning.
No.
Well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
We weren't exactly great friends. Like we were not exactly the best of friends, I'd say. But he lasted 2 days in the house.
Wow.
So we didn't pre-warn him because we were kind of in denial at the time ourselves. We thought, you know what, something might never happen. So he was happy to stay, you know, watch over the house while we were away. And then he had a duvet pulled off him in the night. He'd heard the footsteps as well. I say it was pulled off him. It wasn't. It was kind of yanked. It wasn't completely pulled off him.
And he'd like, you know how you kind of memorize a room before you leave it and then you go back. So he would like obviously picture the room and then he'd go back in. He'd be like, "That's not where I left that. That's out of place. That's moved." And he was like, "There's something weird going." He sent me a message like a couple of days later. He was like, "There's something weird going on in your house." I was like, Nah, not my house. Not my house. That's not right. Yeah. I was like,
it sounds to me like he was
Are you sure?
He was always like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. For us, it was quite confirming because it was like, actually, we're not going crazy. Someone else who is absolutely impartial, has no idea, is also experiencing something here.
Yeah. And then the following day, after he sent that first text, he sent me a text saying, "Right, I'm leaving your house. I'll lock it up when I go, but I'm not going back in."
He's never been back.
No.
He's never been back.
That was after the duvet incident.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
That was the end of the friendship.
Yeah.
It was like, every time I now invite him, it's like almost like a running gag. It's like, "Oh, do you want to come to my house?" He's like, "Absolutely no chance. Not a chance."
So let me ask you now, All right. So, at this point, stuff's going on. You both are seeing it subtly, but then, well, not so subtly when you have something move right in front of both of you. Did you do any background? I mean, do you know the approximate age of the home? Do you know any of the former occupants? Is it a brand new home?
Yeah. So this is the thing that is so that I mean we've since learned otherwise, but the thing is that this house that we live in is a new build house. So it's less than 10 years old. I think it's about 7 years old now. It had one previous occupant in the house before we moved in. And it makes no sense when you think of haunted houses, you think of, well, in the UK, pubs, castles, houses that are over 100 years old, effectively. That's what you would stereotypically put down as a haunted house.
Right.
We live in a new build house. In my mind, it makes no sense, or it made no sense.
Right. See, but that's a misconception, because as investigators ourselves, people say, but it's a brand new home. We're the first people in there. Well, there's two things, from what we've, experienced. One, it's the land. Okay. So there could be something associated with land. Two, actually three things. Two, it could be an object you brought in the home. Or three, it could be something that's attached to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So following you.
Yeah. And this is something that it wasn't until we started to put our story and our journey out there that we learned. So we did look into the land. We looked into the history of the land because this is a new build house, and we were absolutely gobsmacked. So I'm not from around here. Ben was born in London. We're currently about 40 minutes north of London, and about 250 plus miles away from my hometown. So where we live, we've never really known the history of the area. So when we did do research into it, it was really quite interesting. We're quite close to the border of Oxfordshire, the county, and we're about 40 minutes away from Oxford Centre, the city centre. And what we learned is that during the Anglo-Saxon times and the Viking invasion times and all those really exciting historical times, actually the land that we now live on was an area that was an outpost, like a military outpost. But also battles were fought in the fields and the land in the area that these houses are now built. And what was discovered, which still boggles my mind even now, was that when they were preparing the land to build these houses, they discovered some skeletal remains. They got some archaeologists involved, and these remains were not ceremonially buried, so there was no kind of religion involved in it. They could they determined that the skeletons would have dated back to Anglo-Saxon times, and the way that they had been killed, they were able to see that these skeletons had been bound, their hands and legs had been bound, and it was thought that they would have been prisoners of war that would have been brought to this outpost and probably executed.
Wow.
Which is just unbelievable. I mean, England is very historical. Everybody knows that. But you don't really think even in England, you go and visit a castle. You go and visit, I don't know, Hastings, where the Battle of Hastings took place. But you don't think that somewhere near where you live, these things would have happened. Well, of course they would have, but you just don't think of it like that. That was hundreds of years ago.
And, we find that a lot when we go on investigations, and people expect you to come into their home and everything you find is going to be around their home or around something that happened on their property. And that's not always the case. I mean, there are spirits that will come onto a property and come into a home that were killed in a car accident out front of their home.
Yeah.
There's attachments. We call them walkers, where we've gone into an investigation where spirits just walk in and walk out. They'll pass through a property.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And there's something too that I wanted to ask you, Laney, and it's just a personal thing for me.
Are you picking up psychic?
Yeah, because
medium.
I'm a medium.
Right. Okay.
And when I go into most of the properties and I talk to people and things, I can pick up what's going on.
Right.
And I have this really strong feeling about you that you are somewhat open spiritually and that you can somewhat connect with what's going on. And that's why the activity started when you came into your home, because you are like a beacon of light for spirits.
It's really interesting that you should say that. And people who obviously aren't going to be able to see me right now, I do have a big smile on my face because it's really interesting to me that you've mentioned it. I've been told this a lot since we started to share our story. And well, we're here to be honest and frank, aren't we? And I think that there's no shame in talking about mental health. And this is not going off on a tangent, but I had a mental breakdown at the end of 2017. And since then, it's almost as if there's been an awakening within me. And I feel like I see and I feel more. And empathetically, I feel people and I don't know, atmospheres. I don't know how to describe it because this is a new experience for me. I'm just trying to learn what's going on.
Because we're on the air, I'm not going to go all crazy on you, but but I just really get that from you, and I kind of knew there was something there anyway. But I think that it has spiritually changed you, and I think
absolutely
that what
I absolutely
came about
agree
with you, with your breakdown, was an accumulation of real life and spirit. Because when I first started, which I have not been, even as old as I am, I have not been doing this forever, and only within the last 8 years have I guess you'd say, fine-tuned being a medium. Before that, I just, everything was like, this just can't be true. Or this, why am I having this feeling? Or, this is deja vu. I've seen this before. I know this is happening. And I would see things. But now that I've fine-tuned it more, it was driving me crazy and I didn't realize it. So a lot of that, I think, could be that you had, for lack of a better word, spirit agitation.
Do you know, everything you're saying there is very familiar to me, actually. So, that does make sense. And I think with regards to what you are saying about being in tune more spiritually, it's thought that actually our resident spirit, our most active spirit in our house, might be attached to me, as opposed to being attached to the house. There are more than one in the house and around the house, but one in particular who, for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, I can't explain why, I feel a very deep connection, almost like a family connection to this spirit.
You call Dave?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, for our listeners, and I know they're going to go to your channel because they're, if they're not going to go to their channel, they shouldn't be listening to Paranormal Road because
you will be blocked.
Yeah, you'll be blocked. You're going to be taking a detour to somebody else's channel. But anyway, you folks, you got to check out their channel. But so Dave is. How did you come across that name? I mean, why
did he tell you? Did he tell you his name?
So it was a really interesting experience finding out Dave's name. To kind of go back just slightly, we decided that instead of being scared and running away from this house because strange things were happening, decided
that's time out. That's exactly why we had to have you on the show, because we love your approach to this, and we're going to get into that a little bit detail. So I am so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. But it was almost like we could run, or we could try and understand this situation. And being quite an empathetic person myself, I thought if there is somebody who is wanting our attention, there may well be a reason for it. Let's investigate this, and let's look to people who know and try and get some help if this spirit needs help. So we then decided that we would share our story, try and catch some things that, because we did catch things previously, but we never shared them. Just catch a few things that regularly happen, and see what the response is, and see if anybody might be able to offer us a bit of advice or just help us to better understand our situation.
That was just, sorry, Laney. That was just to kind of like make our experience, what we're telling people, more credible, if that makes sense. Because like we could go online and say we're experiencing this, and then people will be like, okay, maybe you are. But if we were to show people what we're experiencing, people will really stop and be like, oh, they are experiencing things.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense.
And some will, and others will do exactly what they do.
Of fakery. Yeah.
They'll just,
of course,
yeah. We get that. We get that often. But the thing is that we're not sharing our stuff to try and make people believe. That's never been our intention.
Right.
We share our experiences because we want people to, well, one, we felt quite isolated in what we were experiencing in keeping it to ourselves for such a long time and not understanding it. But two, because we wanted to connect with people who were like-minded, who maybe had also experienced it and could offer us some advice, but also not just advice for us living with our spirit, advice to help our spirit, which was, and it still is now, our aim. So we kind of built up a small following of people who had either just come across us or had been shown what we were sharing, and psychic mediums and people. And lovingly, our spirit David, because we didn't know anything about him, was named Derek by some of our followers on our lives and things like that. So he had the nickname Derek, but it wasn't enough. We really wanted to really give him back to us, if this makes sense. You know, treat him with respect.
Right.
So we were contacted by a lovely lady called Sam, who is a psychic medium, and because of COVID, we're in lockdown. Nobody's allowed in anybody's houses over in England at the moment. It's just only the people who live there are allowed in that house. So we arranged a Zoom call, not really expecting too much, but just to see what Sam could pick up on. And it was a 3-hour-long Zoom conversation. It was really, really interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she said that she felt that I had some sort of psychic ability. I've never tried to do anything. I've never claimed I had any sort of ability, but she was like, well, yeah, and this goes back again to this familiarity with what you say.
We're in our own world.
Yeah. So Sam said to me, I want you to try it. You're in the house. You've got a gift, I feel. I want you to think about I want you to open up. And she kind of guided me through. And it was a crazy experience because I have never done anything like this before. And so with her guidance, I picked up on some things. And one of the things was that I could feel a tremendous pressure on the side of my head. And I was determined that our spirit had picked up or had passed away because of an injury to his head. And I felt like it was a very strong and a very quick sort of ending to his life. And I had a feeling that it was on a road that we never go down this road, but it was in a direction from our house. I knew the direction, but I didn't know the specific road. But I knew he'd passed away in a car crash on the road, and the injury was his head hitting something. And then the name David just popped up, and then Sam said to me, the psychic medium said to me, "What if I said to you that David was murdered?" And I was like, no, absolutely not. In my whole being, I knew that he hadn't been murdered. I knew that it was an injury to his head and it was a crash. Now, I had been getting headaches on one side of my head for a long time before any of our kind of investigating. And if you were to look back at our very earlier videos that we've shared, you do actually see me often when I would speak about our spirit in our house, touching my head subconsciously. People would comment on it saying, I wish you'd stop touching your hair, stop touching your head. And I wasn't even aware of it. But it suddenly all clicked into place. And then we finished our chat with Sam, and she said, I want you to get into the car. I want you to drive in the direction that you feel that it's in. So we did. And really thinking, I think I've just imagined all of this. I think I've just come up with random answers. And I think I've just come up with a random direction to go in the car. We just thought, you know what, we'll give it a go. And we drove along this road. And I would say I've probably only ever been down that road twice. It's a little bit of distance from our house. And Ben was saying, okay. And I was saying, I think it's this road, but I don't know whereabouts on this road. And Ben was saying, shall we pull in? And I was saying, I don't know. And then I just said, just pull in here, because I was getting a bit, frustrated.
Yeah.
And we pulled in onto the side of the road, and it was a turn into the farmer's field. So you can fit a cart into it, but it's not a lay-by. And I could not believe my eyes. I looked ahead, I looked through the windscreen, and less than 50 feet in front of us was a cross, a white cross that had been like a memorial cross that had been just made and placed into the verge on the side of the road. And it was a really strange, I couldn't believe it. It was just so strange. And I went over. Unfortunately, I was really hoping it was going to say David on there. It didn't. Yeah. It didn't have any name on it.
I was waiting for that because I was going to say, bam, there you go.
Yeah. Do you know, I just wished it was. So we're going to, when libraries and everything open back up, we're going to hit the archives. We're going to find out. We're going to look for the old newspaper reports, and we're going to do a bunch of research. We're itching to do it, but we've not been able to do it yet because everything is shut.
Wow.
But I believe that you will find that. And I'm glad that you stuck to your feeling instead of Sam's, because my experience is that mediums pick things up differently. Not everybody's feeling is the same.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that you stuck with it and what you found when you went out, pretty much confirmed your feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Well, that's because there is the music, and it is time for break. And we will be back with Laney and Ben on the Paranormal Road.
When I run from the pain, hide from the shame, I feel it in my body. And I just can't let go, tears start to flow, I feel it in my body. Girl, I feel this magic, and it's deep inside, 'cause I believe in magic. When I see your eyes, you know that it's magic. Feel it deep inside, 'cause I believe
If you would like to be a guest on Paranormal Road, comment on tonight's show, or share a personal story, email us at paranormalroadpodcast@gmail.com. Again, paranormalroadpodcast@gmail.com.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Ohio Grassman. It is said he lurks deep in the forests of the American heartland. Hundreds have encountered him. Join us at Buckeye Bigfoot, where we tell the stories of those true encounters. I'm Nance Warren, your host and narrator at Buckeye Bigfoot. Look us up on YouTube. Just search for Buckeye Bigfoot. Then come sit with us for a while we tell you stories of the undisputed king of the forest.
From across the pond in the UK. Ben, how are you handling this? I mean, before we went on break, to me, it was amazing to hear you, Randy, and Laney talk about her gift. And it's like, once again, I don't know why I should be surprised, but Randy was spot on. And now
I told him a long time ago to stop doubting me.
Well, I didn't think you could do it across the pond or halfway across the world on Zoom.
I should probably tell them that there is a guy that is kind of a groupie, we call him, who follows us on everything. And the very first time I ever talked to this man on the phone, he was challenging me, my psychic ability.
Yeah, well, we had a winery and he was drunk. And it's like, no.
I'm like, look, dude, don't challenge me. I did this right now. And then I said, oh, by the way, those bones you dug up in your backyard, you need to put them back to the grave that they came from. And he's been a groupie ever since, and because he did actually dig up bones in his backyard.
That is brilliant.
That's amazing.
Challenge you, Laney. Never.
Noted.
But so how, Ben? I mean, how do you feel about all this, Ben? I mean, so you guys connected, and you got something more than that. You got a spiritual connection, and
awakening.
Because after all, you didn't believe in any of this bunk before.
Well, exactly. Like, it was a big shock to the system. It was to be the person that was like the massive skeptic, to then literally living in a situation that you've been trying to debunk for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is pretty mental. To be fair, like, there's been many a time where something's happened and Laney's like come around the corner to the house, like coming home from work, and she's just found me sat on the curb outside.
Looking all sad.
Literally, like, I would just sit out there. Like, there was one time I was playing a football game on my Xbox, and this plant moves again across the cabinet. It's the same plant underneath the telly. And I literally, I'm left the house, everything's still left on. I've just shut the door and I'm sat on the curb. Like, I've got the keys in the house, but I'm not willing to go back into the house to get my keys.
Well, let me ask you, did you have like dark stains down your pants?
Well, Laney's probably the best person to ask about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I do the laundry, so.
Exactly. But yeah, like, it's, when it first came about, it was terrifying. Like, right. I've watched plenty of horror movies to know how this stuff ends, like, but now that we've experienced it more and we understand the situation, it sounds crazy, but it's almost normalized it.
Mm-hmm.
Like having a name to this person, who was a person,
right.
And to know it was a person, not some demonic entity that's gonna like drag me out of my bed and pull me down the stairs. Like, it makes it feel more nice, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to word it, but like,
but they're not harmful. They're just
exactly, yeah. Like, exactly that.
You can think of it as a lost soul. They just don't know where they're at and what they're doing, and now they've got someone who might be able to guide them or help them. So
exactly, and but I'm not gonna lie. If there's like something abrupt that will happen, like a water bottle flying off a counter or a book coming off a shelf, it's like, all right, okay, that's not okay. Like, that's weird.
Not that we want to get all up in your personal business, but have you found that, like, if like you guys were having a spat or a disagreement activity would pick up almost as to say, knock it off, or you would agitate the spirits of you guys, depending on your...
Yeah,
absolutely.
So if there's negativity in us, or there's like a negative feeling around the house or whatever, like even me and Laney have had a fallout, or me and someone else, or Laney and someone else, and there's negativity in the house, we find that something will generally happen in that time, if that makes any sense.
It's almost as if it fuels a bit of energy.
Yeah.
And then something will happen. But there's been times where Ben and I have been bickering, and we adore each other, but we do have times where we'll argue all morning or bicker all morning. And then it's almost like the spirit, David, is like, right, you guys, that's enough now. And we'll just have a door slam.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, sorry, David. Like, he's our dad. Sorry, Dad. You know?
But then it's like, we go back to him, like, what are we arguing about again? And then it's like, and then we're back to normal.
Yeah.
Right.
He knocks us out of it, you know?
Well, you know, as investigators ourselves, and maybe some of our listeners, because, you know, there's a wide range of views, and I'm sure you've heard them as far as the believers go, that, okay, anything is ghostly is demonic. All right,
all the time.
I'm tired of hearing that
all the time.
Is demonic, and you don't know what you're playing with, or you don't know what you're messing with. And you're opening doors, and it's so frustrating because we've seen the other side. We know from our investigation, yes, there are demons. Of our 80 plus investigations, we believe that there are 5 of our cases with a high probability that were non-human. And if you want to go into the religious terms of what we identify as demonic, yes, out of 80, 5. And I think that's relatively small. Many of our investigations, we won't do an investigation unless we can do a crossover. And when we do the crossover, we run the ITC communication. The loving and beautiful messages are just incredible. So I have to, I kind of get upset when I hear the closed-minded, it's demonic right away.
Yeah.
We tend to do that with things we don't understand. And have you dealt with that from relatives or friends, or just mainly the internet following?
So it's mostly the internet that kind of give us that, but
I think Hollywood's got a lot to answer to.
Yeah, but like everyone kind of has watched the Conjuring movies, and it's like everyone instantly assumes it is like that.
And then when we try and say to people, look, we live in this situation, we know that we're not in any sort of danger, we are not feeling threatened, we just constantly get the response, well, demons do that, they trick you. They lure you into a false sense of security. We've been told that we're going to die. We've been told that if we have children, it's going to be possessed.
And the funniest one's like when people say, "Oh, you're going to die tonight." I always make a point of going back to the comment the morning after and being like, "Well, we're still here. We're still kicking about."
Right.
But I do think that Hollywood movies, horror movies, have got a lot, because people don't understand. It's like you say, you've done 80 of these investigations, and 5 of them you could put down as being something negative. And if you had
to say to you, Laney, is you would know, because you would know.
Right.
When we've gone to these 5 that he's talking about, I knew something was wrong.
I don't get scared generally. When he starts acting weird or saying these things, then I'm like, okay, maybe I better think twice.
The other, I don't know, as stupid as it may sound to some people, I can smell death.
Yeah.
And on one in particular, which was the most horrible one we've ever done, and it was definitely demonic, I smelled death the minute I walked in the door. And
so you just know.
Yeah, a member of the household was dying.
Yeah, and they kept saying, "Oh, he's in and out of the hospital, and they don't know what's wrong with him." When we left, I said, "This man's going to be gone, dead in 4 months."
Wow!
Oh, wow!
And
this demon this demonic entity was scary as shit.
And and that's why, the whole thing happened spiritually. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
If there was something bad, or even now, if a spirit comes in that has ill intent or it's just not a good thing for you, you're going to know.
Trust your instincts. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and I think that's, because for that reason, I think it speaks volumes that we're still here, because I, for one, if I'm very black and white with in my world, in the sense that if somebody does something wrong to me, that's it. Like I'm not going to entertain them again. That they don't have a place within my life, because it's self-preservation. And it would be the same here. If this house was threatening me, if I felt uncomfortable in it, I can promise you I would not be here. Why would I stay? But we're 3 years in and we are still here. That just says it all, really.
Yeah.
But it's like you were saying about the 80 investigations and 5 of them being negative. If you had 80 people in front of you, you can guarantee 5 of those people would be probably quite negative, statistically. Yeah. And so the other 75, if it were ghosts or spirits, are going to be good, aren't they? So why would it? If you have 80 people who are good and 75 who are good and 5 who are negative, well, that would be no different to the spirit world.
Yeah.
Why just because it's a spirit does it have to be evil or negative or trying to steal your soul?
And it's like it's another thing that our psychic friend Sam said to us is like, this David, he wouldn't have killed someone in life, so why would he kill someone in death? Like, he's because he's passed on, it doesn't mean his being changes or is like
he's still him.
Yeah, he's still him. Just
if they're nasty and ornery in life, they're going to be nasty and ornery in death. I mean, you don't change. You're just not of the living world anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
For our listeners, okay, that are listening because they don't have, they have not checked out your YouTube channel, which they damn well better after this show. But give a timeline or give share some of the most, like you said, the plant moving and the night visit to the refrigerator. Talk about that one.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
Since you guys have your life under video camera and
exactly. So we've recently set up some cameras in our house, like almost like little home security cameras.
Warning to our listeners, if you check that out, you're going to see Ben and his skivvies. So
not a pretty sight. So a lot of people online were like, look, you need to set up cameras to kind of see what happens when you're not about or you haven't got anything recording. And so we were like, this is a great idea. Like, if anything, it's going to validate our situation even more. So we set them up. We've got 2. We've got one in our kitchen, one in our living room. So I went downstairs. I made Laney a cup of tea. Very British thing to do.
For me, it would be coffee, but go ahead.
Yeah. I know how Laney likes her cup of tea, right? She likes it quite milky. So I've looked at it and I'm like, that's not milky enough. So I've gone back to the fridge to go and get some more milk. And as I've like opened up the fridge, I felt like a blow on the back of my head. And it freaked me out big time. Like, I've put the milk away, I've walked away, and I've gone, you can actually hear at the end of that video, I'm like, Laney, up the stairs, and I'm literally waddling out the room with this tea, trying not to spill it. Like, Laney, help.
But I will say we had a real good laugh watching that footage back.
I was like, Laney, are you okay with me sharing this? And she was like, oh, I don't really care. Do you mind? I was like,
that was a real manly Ben.
Oh yeah.
Laney.
Proper macho of me. Like, you haven't seen the half of it, lads. Honestly.
It's like the term we use. We ran and screamed like a little girl.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, many a time has that happened.
Like, Ben's quite happy to always send me into things, all these strange situations first.
People are like in the comments of our videos. Like, there was one video where this cupboard door's shut or open, sorry, and I've gone to Laney. She's like, oh, are you going to go and deal with that? I'm like, no, absolutely no chance. I'm like, what are you going to do about it? So she stands up and walks over.
But I'm complaining the whole way over to the door. I'm like, I'm like the sacrificial lamb. You'll send me in first. But the door did shut before we got there. So thanks, David. I mean, you can open the doors, but at least you shut them after yourself.
Yeah.
So.
The same thing happens to me. I always get thrown in the mix too.
So some of the other things that you've captured on video.
So there was the most probably explosive experience that we've had. It's usually like, we call them our hotspots in our house.
Mm-hmm.
It is in our kitchen and our living room. That's where we set the cameras up. But there's a door that is we call it Dave's door, don't we? Because it's like, that's the door that will typically open and shut. So it was opened when we were sat watching TV again. Shock, we're always sat watching TV. And literally this door's opened, and we've learned that through our experiences that if something happens, there's bound to be something else that happens. But even if not, at least we're recording to see if it does and if it doesn't. Anyway, we start recording just to say that the door's open. And as I'm talking, it's actually me talking this time because Laney's sent me on my way.
So what you'll hear if you do see the video is I go, are you going to talk this time? Because Ben had a lot of comments being like, just like funny banter saying, oh, Ben always sends Laney in and stuff like that. So I was like, right, you're going to be going in there first.
Yeah.
The door had opened. We hit record because we're trying to capture as much as we can. So we've always got our phones nearby. And then all of a sudden, as I'm talking, this cup, it's like a plastic protein shaker, flies off the counter. Now, what we've learned, if we like cut the video there, people would have been like, well, this could have happened, this could have explained it, this could have explained it. So we try and debunk things before people can debunk things, if you know what I mean. So we rushed in there.
Ahead of them, yeah.
Exactly. Like, we rushed in there. We picked up the bottle. Well, Laney picked up the bottle. She showed the bottle to show there was nothing attached to it.
I just wanted to make sure that it was all one scene, or like one clip, straight in, pick up the shaker, show there's nothing going on with the shaker. There's nothing attached to it.
And then I go around the kitchen and I'm opening all the cupboard doors to show there's no one hiding. We show under the kitchen table. We show around the corner. We show everything.
Everything that people have previously said, well, it could have been this or it could have been this.
There's still like reasons as to that people come up with the most outlandish things. Like someone's in your sink. No, they're really not. Believe me.
Someone said that there was somebody hiding inside our dishwasher at one point, which I thought was brilliant. I thought, do you know what? That's quite a reach. But I'll let you have that for entertainment
or creativity.
See, I'm old. I would have just said, you know what, you're crazy. Shut the hell up.
Yeah. We
sorry.
The responses that we give and the responses that we say out loud are definitely very different.
Right. You say it with your inside voice.
Yes.
Yes. With the inner dialogue,
Now, again, with what you've documented to me is just amazing, and it's an eye opener. And so you have been subject to a lot of vicious comments, and frankly, we can relate from our investigations. And again, that's what drew me to having you on our show, because I'm like, number one, your chemistry is just freaking amazing. You're in, and I'll tell you what, I mean, I would be lying if I said that I didn't analyze you guys. Okay.
Well,
of course.
All right. So watching you, I mean, I find myself, I think I'm pretty good at reading people and facial expressions. And listeners, if you watch our videos, as Laney's talking, you can see Ben's reaction. And these are not, their videos are not that.
It's not acting.
No. And if they are acting, you guys should be in Hollywood. The UK, you'd be the next biggest stars. So I don't see anything in your videos that's acting. I mean, from our own experience of being in the paranormal world, what you filmed, yes, you can be. If you're not in the moment, if I'm not in your room when you see things coming off the shelf, okay?
Yeah.
The skeptic mind can say, okay, is there a fish line there? And looking at it, it's like, no. And if they do, they should get an award for creative special effects, for some of the stuff you guys have filmed. It is what we say with our videos when we put them out there. We put them out there. the bottom line is, you, the viewer, you be the judge. This is what we're honestly putting it out there. You make that decision. And the same with Paranormal Road. You know, do we 100% believe every single guest we've had on our show? No. But it doesn't mean that we're rude or nasty to them. It doesn't mean that we believe they're lying to us. We believe that, okay, they saw something in the woods, you know. There's other ones that, you know, we get done with our interview and I'm like, oh shit, Randy, I am not going to that, you know, woods. There's a Bigfoot in that woods. I'm convinced. The whole thing is, with this type of research, this type of paranormal activity with what you put out onto your YouTube channel, I find it just freaking awesome. But yet the vicious ones.
Yeah.
What prompted you to do that response? Because I'll tell you, Red Man, I loved it. I'm like, no, I'm like, that was a clincher. I'm like, all right, I've got to have these guys on our show. That I was so freaking impressed by that, because I could hear that sarcasm in your voice, and then you were so honest when you read them. Most people would like, oh, we're going to delete those comments and we're not going to address them, and you addressed them. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
So that's just like, obviously, since it's a very controversial topic, the paranormal, people either believe or they don't believe. I think it's as black and white as that. There's not really a middle ground.
And I think there's also a lot of emotion involved in things like the paranormal, because there's death involved in that, and that's a very emotive topic for many people.
Exactly.
And, sorry, go on.
No, go on.
So all I was going to say was, we understand the criticism and we understand the skepticism, and we welcome people's points of views, and we're open to even constructive criticism and things like that, because we can learn from it, and that's what makes the world go round, different points of view. And we don't delete a lot of the comments unless they're really quite vicious. But we have done a couple of videos where we react to people's comments.
So we when we get the comments, we laugh at them because they're so ridiculous. Some of the things that people come out with are absolutely ridiculous.
But at the same time, the way we've approached our whole situation is with humour. It's been to our detriment sometimes, because people think that if they hear us like giggling or laughing in the background when something crazy is happening in our house, they think that it can't be real because we're laughing. But actually, we're laughing because if we don't laugh, we'd probably cry.
Well, on that note, Ben, in your video, and I like that. And what struck me is when you said, just because we're not reacting to it the way you might react to it, doesn't mean we're faking it. You know, it's like, you know, and I'm paraphrasing how you said it, but I'm like,
of course,
that is so true. And again, if half these people who are so damn vicious in their comments would just simply look at your facial reactions and the organic nature of your videos, you know, you have to be, you know, this could be happening instead of being vicious about it.
Exactly. And I think it as crazy as it sounds, it is like anything. If you're exposed to it enough, you get desensitized, and it becomes, it's like if you listen to the same noise over and over and over again, it becomes background noise. If you see the same, if you look into a light for too long, your eyes adjust. It is like anything like that. So at the beginning, if you look at our videos from the very, very beginning to where they are now, our reactions and the way that we deal with it have evolved. I like to use the word evolved because it has. It's like it's changed because we're not the scared couple that we were 3 years ago or a year ago when we started documenting things. We are a year later and we understand the situation. We know what is going on. But like, I just like to, if people, I feel like if you can give it out like people do in our comments, you should be able to take it. Like that's like, for me growing up, like it's always been that kind of brutal banter. Like if you dish it out, you've got to expect to have it back 10 times worse. Like that's how it is. But like,
it was like, man up, bitch.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's exactly it. But like, people, there was someone that dropped the C-bomb on us, and I was like,
yeah.
I mean, like that was kind of the turning point for that video, because it was like I left it to the end because I didn't want to take away from the lightheartedness of the video. But it was like, that wasn't, people will attack the situation, but that attacked us personally.
Right.
And I did take that quite personally. But like, I tried to address it in a humorous way.
Yeah, and I think sometimes if we just laugh about it, we could take it to heart, or we could laugh about it and kind of bring a bit of fun to it on our channel, and kind of and not so much shame these people, but maybe they would see that their comment and see how really unkind it was, and maybe think twice.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that you've got to feel sorry for people who leave horrific comments for strangers online. What is going so badly in their life that they have to put that negativity onto somebody that they don't know in order to get some gratification and relieve their negativity from themselves?
But even then, like I would do the same in the comments. So I don't just do it on the videos. Like if I see a negative comment, I would try and respond in quite a humorous, lighthearted way. Yeah. And it usually there would be an element of truth behind what I'm saying. So like the people would read the comment again and be like, maybe I was a bit of a dick there. Apologies for the language. But then they turn around and they'd be like, okay, maybe I was wrong to say that. You guys are actually all right. And then it kind of turns the situation, and they become followers as opposed to enemies, if that makes sense.
You disarm them.
Exactly.
You disarm them. Like we found that some comments we just won't even interact with. Some comments we'll interact with kindness. It disarms these people. They're expecting an argument back, and actually you're just giving them some kindness. I really like your profile picture, or like, I hope you're having a lovely day. And people are like, oh, that didn't work.
Yeah, didn't expect that one.
Yeah.
Like we've got this one person, you've been mentioning it the past few days, who will just comment the exact same thing on every single post, literally minutes after it goes out. And it's like, but we're ignoring it. So clearly that's getting to them, because it's starting to come in capital letters now.
Yeah.
They're putting the same thing but in capitals to really get the attention. It's like, if we don't feed it, there's literally nothing they can do.
Right, exactly. Well, kudos to you both on that, because again, I think you're handling it very well. And Randy, as he's already kind of talked to on the psychic level, your lighthearted approach, and I think from our experience, you're doing everything right. As far as we believe that these we have dominion over these. God's, if you're in the religious terms, God gave man dominion over the earth. The earth is physical. Therefore, what most ghosts don't realize, we have authority over them. And I think your lightheartedness and not giving into it, as far as fear, you're not feeding it. And I think you're actually kind of providing a welcoming to attraction. So I think you're going to be forever haunted. Sorry to say that, but with your gift.
Well, Laney's going to be forever haunted. I'm out of it if that's the case.
No, you're going to be with her forever. So you're forever haunted. See, it's a package.
And that suits me just fine, actually. Two men in my life.
When did I sign up for that one?
And the thing is, you will know, Laney. Like I said, you will know if there's something that's bad, and all you do is ask them to leave,
or demand they leave. You have that authority over them. I really believe that.
And there have been times where where I have actually felt like David's overstepped the mark. There was a time where I was woken up. I was having a nap. Actually, I was on the sofa on the couch having a nap, and I was woken up. I had like a growling sound, or like a hiss sort of sound in my ear, and it had frightened me awake. And because I was kind of still rebooting from my nap, if this makes sense, I was in the house on my own. I was quite startled, and so I tried to call Ben, who was working. He couldn't answer, so I started to record on my phone and just say like, "Oh, I just need to speak to somebody because I've just had this happen." And then my hair moved, and that was a moment that, for me, again, it was a bit of a vulnerable time. You're asleep or you're still waking up, and then I watched my hair move. It actually moved twice, but I didn't see it the first time. But I watched as I was recording it happen the second time, and that was one of those moments where I felt like I needed to kind of assert my boundaries, and I was like, "No, you're not going to do that again. I do not want you to do that." And then I got up and had a cup of tea. So I mean,
probably the most British way to deal with a situation. Everything's fixed. If you ever come here, everything's fixed with a cup of tea.
It's true.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys have made us want to come to England to visit you. I'll tell you.
Well, if you ever find yourself on an aeroplane, let us know. We would love to meet you up with you guys. It would be an honor.
The States, we have this incredible campground that every summer we spend every weekend there. And yes, there's a Bigfoot there, but it's like our retreat. So
that's like Laney's guilty pleasure, but it's a Bigfoot sighting.
I love.
She loves it
because this whole paranormal and otherworldly and spiritual life has been completely. We were completely oblivious to it all, and this moving here has opened us up to learning so much more. And the Yowie or Bigfoot or whatever you'd like to call him or it or them is one thing that's really intrigued me. And I just think it's been so interesting to learn about all these different things, like so many aliens or UFOs.
You're going to have to go back and listen to all of our paranormal roads because we
will.
Once you go down the paranormal road, there's the house on the right that's haunted. Then you go down, there's the house on the left that has a Bigfoot. So down that paranormal road, once you turn down there, once you've experienced something, you open yourself up.
Yeah.
Really, it's quite incredible to what you can experience. But I'll tell you, how can our listeners find more out about you? How can they follow you on the YouTube, Facebook?
So we're quite unoriginal. We're literally Laney and Ben across everything: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All Laney and Ben.
You just need to search Laney and Ben, and it'll come up straight away. And we're pretty much linked from one platform to another. So
they're more tech savvy than we are.
Yeah, I'm old. I just know how to work the TV remote.
Trust me, he doesn't. Hey, Dave, how did you get to that channel? But, again, for our listeners, I highly encourage you to check out their channel on YouTube and, again, on all the platforms that they mentioned. What you guys are filming is just amazing, and keep it up. I mean, and keep up your attitude. Your attitude is, to me, is just stellar. And I think for you to continue to get that kind of evidence, and it's amazing. Now, before we, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before we end, there is one question that just came to mind that I wanted to follow up on. You mentioned there are other spirits there. How do you know the difference between them and Dave?
Well,
how do you know there's others? Other than, do you feel that, Laney, or?
Yeah, so there's and so I do feel it, and it's also been confirmed by a couple of psychics or psychic mediums. So Dave, I feel Dave is always around. We have there's a spirit who is thought to actually be outside or around the house, and Dave keeps him at bay. He's not as nice, but Dave kind of keeps him at arm's length for us. We get knocks on the front door and things when there's nobody there. Sometimes it could be 7, 8, 9 times a day.
Yeah.
It gets really frustrating. And then there's a spirit that is connected to Ben, his grandfather, who comes and goes and kind of just checks in to make sure everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then there's thought to be a child spirit too, who's quite mischievous. And we think that the child is the one who plays with the cat's toys. And we've caught footage of the cat ball rolling a few times.
That was pretty cool. Well, the one in the kitchen where it rolled.
Yeah. There was it's a really, really weird one, because like we never know who's who, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we only ever thought we had Dave, but then we did like a live investigation with a psychic medium and a paranormal investigating team, because obviously COVID restrictions, we're not allowed to go to the house or whatever. And that's when that was told to us, and that all happened live, and that was just mental as well. But
it made a lot of sense. And there'd been times previously where we'd thought there was we'd seen little small shadows, and there's been times where I've seen things in our bedroom. I've seen an elderly lady in our bedroom, and only last week there was a shadow outline of like a male shadow outline. Do you want to tell that story quickly?
Yeah, it's a quick one, but basically I was getting ready to go to sleep, and Laney goes, Ben. I'm like, yeah. She goes, is there a shadow over my shoulder? I was like, I don't F-bomb, no, and I don't really care. I'm going to sleep.
I don't know, and I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Because I'd stared at this shadow. I kind of hoped that it was just my eyes playing up. And I stared at it for at least a minute, and I thought, yeah, that's not going away. So I turned around and I turned over to face Ben, and I said, can you see that man-shaped shadow behind us? And he goes, I don't F-bomb, no. And I'm not looking. I turned back and it was gone. And there was about 40 seconds of silence. And then Ben's little voice just goes, shall we sleep downstairs tonight?
So did you sleep downstairs?
No, Laney stood her ground. She was like, no.
I vetoed it. I said, no, I'm in bed. I'm staying here. This is our room.
I was like,
I'll tell it to leave.
Before I know it, she's come over. She started hugging me, being like, are you okay?
I said, I'll be the big spoon.
Oh, wow. I tell you guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our show. And
we're so glad you stayed up late for us.
We're now letting you go until you commit that you'll come back on and give us updates as
100%. I've really enjoyed this. And I speak for me, and I know Laney has as well. I can always tell with Laney, but we've both loved it. It's been great.
I really
have warmed up a little bit. She was off camera before. Now she's live.
Yeah.
Ben was kind of forcing the camera into my view. So unfortunately, you've had to endure my makeup-free face.
Well, that was just an all miscommunication on all of our parts, and
It's not that we're not international. We're not this, huge radio show. So we had to really think about this, and we screwed it up. So,
well, no, we don't feel like that. We would have been awake anyway.
See, I read back on the message. I was like, I'm sure, because you messaged about an hour before we did this, being like, it's 10:04, but I missed the PM bit.
Yeah,
your time. So we started about an hour, and I'm like, it's 10:04 over here. You've got that bang on, actually. You've got that bang on, and I'm like, and then you're like, we're starting in 5 minutes. I was like, wait, hang on, what?
And I'm doing it. I'm running to the bottom floor to get the long charging cable so that we guaranteed that we won't mess this up. But the time difference really doesn't bother us. Honestly, it's absolutely fine. So, and it really we wouldn't have missed this for the world. We've really enjoyed this, and it really has been an honor to be invited onto your channel. So thank you.
It's all ours to have you on here, and again, kudos to you both. I admire what you're doing. You just keep collecting that evidence and sharing it. Personally, just from listening, I'm not the psychic medium, but listening, I don't think you're in danger. Randy, are you picking up anything?
No. And I really think, Laney, that you've got it under control. Just, keep your open mind, and like in real life, just be cautious.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel right. Our bodies are amazing. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Yeah, and your authority.
Yeah, and I appreciate your advice, and because sometimes you just need those little reminders to stay grounded, and to do the things that you've suggested, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, and definitely. We can't wait to hear some updates. And,
you're gonna be back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would love that.
We'd love that if you'd have us.
We'd love that. It would be wonderful.
Well, we thank you again so much for being on the Paranormal Road. Did I not tell you that'd be a phenomenal interview guest to have on our show?
I hate to say it, Dave, but yes, you did, and yes, you were right.
Yes, well, I'm not right that often, so I'm really relishing in on this one because they, again, were just a fabulous interview. It was so much fun talking to them, and like they said, I could have talked to them for hours.
Yeah, it was like a big pajama party.
It was. They're all lounged out on their bed, and
yeah,
it was.
Well, it was much later there.
Oh, much later, into the early morning hours. So we appreciate so much, Laney and Ben, that you took the time to be on our show, and I know our guests are going to love this episode. And we will definitely have to have them back in Season 4 to get us all caught up on the latest activity. But in the meantime, we highly encourage you to check out their Facebook page and their YouTube channel where they post the updates on the poltergeist activity. And again, people will say, okay, it's staged. You know, looking at it, it's so incredible. But I think if you could have saw their facial reactions as we did on the Zoom meeting, again, we, from our experience in doing many, many cases with clients, they're telling the truth. They're going through something. But I love their approach. Again, that they're taking it lightheartedly, and they're open-minded to exploring it.
Yeah, they're just great people, and we really did enjoy it.
So thank you again so much, Laney and Ben, for being on the Paranormal Road.
And just to let you know, there's more.
What?
We have a Haddox report.
And now, professional UFO investigator on special assignment with Paranormal Road, it's William Haddox with the Haddox Report.
This is William Haddox with the Haddox Report, and I've got something interesting to bring to you this week. Something that's a little different than I normally talk about, and just something to make you think. I'm not going to give any names, and I don't want to get political, which is one reason I don't want to give any names. But there's been some talk going around lately within the UFO community and the political community, both sides of the aisle, concerning UFOs. Now, it was put into the last COVID bill that within, I believe it was 90 days, all UFO information would have to be released, and we're getting closer to those dates. But what I find even more unusual, other than what's come out in the Freedom of Information Act, that they have been working with some extraterrestrial material, they're claiming, is the rumor, like I said, going around the UFO community and the political one, of a possible faked or staged, if you will, alien invasion. Government has been about control for as long as there's been governments. That's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. And what a lot of people are speculating is the reason they're releasing all of this information is they're leading up to the quote-unquote invasion. And what that would do is they would be able to use that through fear and other means to get not just the American population, but worldwide, to fully submit. You know, give up everything. We know what's best. We can stop these beings or creatures, whatever you want to call them. But you have to submit first. We can't have people out there doing their own thing, taking a chance of possibly sparking something major or making it worse, as the case may be. So that's some of the speculation that's going around, because no government is going to release any information of anything unless it benefits them. That's how it's always worked. They're going to tell you what they want, because they will censor anything, regardless of Freedom of Information Acts or whatever similar programs other countries have. They have their clauses and their ways to weasel themselves out of telling you the truth. So it's just something to keep an eye on. More and more of this stuff will probably be coming out in the near future. And I find it just really interesting that for decades, they've denied everything, complete denial. They had Project Blue Book, back in the 60s. That was a big cover-up campaign. And throughout military and even with commercial airlines, pilots were always in fear of losing their job if they reported anything. And now it seems like almost every other week, somewhere in the country or around the world, things are being reported. It's like they've got full freedom now to report, come forward, tell us everything. And that's not something that would happen without the other side using it for their benefits. I think they're trying to get the public more used to the subject, make it more of a mainstream thing that will be overlooked in a lot of cases. But like I say, governments are a lot about control, so I think that's got a lot to do with it. I mean, you can look through history and saw worldwide where governments have tried one way or another to control people, and fear is usually a pretty good way to do it. So if anything else comes up about any of this, I'll be sure to pass along any information. Normally, I would post, names and things even on the website, which is Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center.us. You can also find us on Facebook, Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center. Links at the bottom of the homepage on the website. I've had a few reports come into the archives that you can check out. And if anybody has anything to report, it doesn't have to be from Ohio or even the U.S. for that matter. And it doesn't even have to be recent. I like to have things for the archives so when recent events come in that are not easily solved, I can use the archives as a cross-reference. But I don't like to release a lot of information as far as names and affiliations of different people, because I don't want to turn this political. The information is out there. It's not difficult to find, but I just don't want to turn the Haddox Report into anything one way or another. This is about the UFOs, extraterrestrials, and different sightings, and that's where I want to leave it. But when I do find interesting articles from mainstream media, I will post those on the Facebook page. But that's pretty much all I've got for this week, but I just wanted everybody to kind of be aware that there's a lot of rumor and talk going around of a possible staged or faked invasion to use as one last ditch effort to control the people. I've never thought that they've held back information due to fear or panic, as a lot suggest. I don't believe that. It's, at least in the United States' views, we have always been kind of the superpower top dog of the world, regardless of what people have thought about us over the years. And if they were to admit that there was something else out there that they couldn't do anything about, then they're giving up that control, that king of the mountain status, if you will. So if they're going to start releasing all of this information, you can bet that they're up to something. So we'll just have to pay attention to what's coming up in the weeks and months ahead. And like I say, as soon as more information comes out or I find anything that's more credible, I'll be sure to pass it along. But as always, remember, keep looking up.
Wow. That was a very interesting and somewhat disturbing Haddox report. What do you think, Randy?
Well, I think anything's possible. And the fact that you're seeing it around on the internet and it's being brought up doesn't...
Yeah, because honestly, I have been seeing this. As William suggested or said, I've been seeing these type of rumors.
And it's definitely food for thought and thought for some upcoming episodes we have.
Shh. But anyway, we would like to thank all of you for turning on the paranormal road.